Your finger is already. You saw them on the underside of the tomato leaf. A little row of pale specks, smaller than salt, the kind of thing you wipe off without thinking. Dust, maybe. A touch of mildew. Nothing that earns a second glance. Your thumb is half a second from clearing them away. Stop there. Don't wipe, because dust doesn't line up. Mildew doesn't sit in a tidy little curve, and what you're about to smudge off the leaf isn't dirt at all. It's a row of eggs. Give that dust 4 to 10 days, and something is going to walk out of it. Kneel down. The real story starts lower than you're looking. Turn the leaf over. Hold it to the light. You're not looking at a stain on your plant. You're looking at the prologue of a life, written under a leaf, in a hand so small you almost erase the whole thing by accident. And before this is over, you're going to be able to read it, to look at any speck under any leaf, and know what's inside and what's about to come out. So let's learn to see them. Here's why your hand reached for the cloth before your mind caught up. 3 things tell your brain to breathe. The specks are tiny. They sit on the shadowed underside where things collect, and they don't move. Dust, mold, dead skin of the plant. Case closed. Wipe, but look again, slower. Look at the spacing. Dust falls at random. It scatters. It clumps where the air drops it, never in a line, never in a curve. What's on your leaf isn't scattered. It's placed. Extension guides from the University of Maryland and Iowa State describe these eggs sitting in a short, deliberate arc, often around 15 of them, swept out in a little half circle, oval and upright, each one standing on its own. That curve is the tell. That curve is a signature. Something knelt on this leaf before you did and laid them out one at a time, eating as she worked, and the geometry she left behind is the first thing that should stop your thumb. The moment you see arrangement instead of accident, you're not looking at a mess anymore. You're looking at the work of an author, and the specks that have gone darker than the rest, those aren't the dirtiest ones. Those are the ones about to open, so let's learn to read them. 4 kinds of specks show up under a leaf like this, and each one is the first chapter of a different creature. Once you know the 4, you'll never see dust again. Look very close. Closer than feels reasonable. Tilt the leaf so the light skims sideways across it. On some leaves, you'll see specks that aren't lying on the surface at all. They're lifted. Each one is standing on a thread finer than a hair, held just above the leaf, like a tiny lamp on a tiny pole. A little forest of them. You almost can't believe a mother made that on purpose. She did. Those are lacewing eggs, and the thread is there for a reason that will twist your stomach a little. The first sibling to hatch is hungry, and without that stalk holding the rest out of reach, breakfast would be the rest of the brood. So she lifts each one up its own spire and walks away. About 4 to 6 days later, the speck at the top of the thread splits, and what climbs down is pale, slim, bristled, faintly armored, almost a tiny alligator with curved jaws. It will spend its first chapter quietly walking the leaves of your plant before it ever grows wings, before anyone's ever seen what it really is. If you see specks on threads, you've found the gentlest thing on this list. Leave it be. Now a different one. A speck that sits alone or loosely scattered, round and faintly domed and a little glossy, pale green going to cream, about the size of a pinhead. No stalk, no arc. Just one. Here, another over there. Run your eye along the leaf and the rhythm is wrong, too spaced out to be a clutch, too round to be debris. That's often a moth's egg. On a tomato leaf, the one to know is the hornworm. Roughly 5 days from laying, that little dome darkens. The dome cracks and a thread of green caterpillar slips out. And yes, that one eats the plant, not the pests. This is the chapter you actually want to catch early. But notice what just happened. You didn't panic and strip the leaf. You identified it. No stalk, sits alone, glossy dome, that's your moth. Knowing is what buys you the right move later. Third, a cluster with no manners at all. Specks jammed together along the vein, uneven, piled, no curve, no spacing, just a crowd. In the warm months, you may even find the things already moving, slow and pale, and stuck in one spot, fat little teardrops, clinging to the rib of the leaf. Those are aphids, often born live rather than laid as eggs in summer, which is why the group looks less like a design and more like a gathering. On a doorstep. The tell here is the opposite of the lacewings. No architecture, no spacing, no spire. Just disorder along the rib of the leaf, and the youngest of them already drinking before you noticed they were there. And the fourth? The one that fooled your thumb in the first place. A fine, pale, powdery film, sometimes faintly waxy, sometimes a little sticky to the touch. This is your look-alike, whitefly eggs and their young, or a dusting of mealy wax, the cluster that hides in plain sight, precisely because it reads as grime. Here's the test that settles it, and it costs you nothing. Touch one edge, gently. If it smears, if it wipes into a streak and comes away on your skin like powder, it was wax or mildew, and your instinct was right. But if it holds, if those specks stay standing, in their curve, in their spacing, refusing to become a smudge, then your instinct was wrong, and you're not cleaning a leaf. You're interrupting a hatching. Geometry that won't wipe is never dust. And that fourth kind hides the strangest first chapter of them all. The whitefly's egg isn't resting on the leaf. It's plugged into it. In a 1990 study, Byrne, Cohen, and Draeger showed that each egg stands on a hollow stalk pushed down into the plant's own tissue, and the egg drinks through it. Drinks. Nearly half the weight of a ripe whitefly egg is water it has pulled up out of the leaf through a straw thinner than a speck of dust, so fine you'd need a microscope to believe it's there. The thing you were about to wipe off as lifeless had already pushed a root into your plant and started feeding before it was even born. There's a calendar to that one too. The arc starts out greenish-white and almost translucent. By about a week in, the specks at one end of the curve start tipping toward dark, then darker, until the whole row looks like a scatter of poppy seeds on the underside. About 10 days from when she laid them, those darkest ones split, and what comes out is no bigger than the speck it left behind, but it's already walking. That's the moment the whole leaf changes under your hand. Not a stain. A row of mouths, already drinking, each one a sealed first chapter, waiting for its day to open. So come back to the leaf you're actually holding. One short arc of specks under one tomato leaf. Today is day one. Nothing moves. It looks exactly as harmless as it did a minute ago, and that's the part worth sitting with. Iowa State's extension makes a quiet point that's easy to miss. With something like the whitefly, the cloud of little white adults you eventually see lifting off a shaken plant is the late symptom, not the beginning. The beginning is this: the flat, near invisible specks on the underside that nobody turns the leaf over to find. The loud part comes last. It may be that the reason these things seem to appear overnight is simply that their first chapters are silent, and we only start reading at the loud ones. I'd hold that last bit lightly. It's the sensible reading, not a proven law. But the timeline underneath it is real, and it's already running on your leaf. So watch it slowly. Day 1, the curve is pale, almost pearled, the shape of a fingernail moon under the leaf. Day 3, no change to the naked eye, but tip the leaf into the light, and the specks at one end look a half shade deeper. Day 4, that deepening is unmistakable. Day 7, the row has split into 2 reading stages, pale ones still finishing, dark ones almost ready. Day 9, the darkest one looks glossy, almost wet, like something is pressing against the inside of it. And then somewhere on day 10, on a morning you'd never have circled on any calendar, while you're making coffee and the leaf is just a leaf, the curve opens. One speck splits, then another along the arc. What walks out is so small, you have to lean in to be sure it walked at all. But it did, and every one of them spent its entire first chapter in a place your thumb almost erased. You don't get many invitations to watch a life begin from the very first page. This is one, and it was hiding under a leaf the whole time. So here's the whole move, and it's mostly stillness. Don't wipe. Don't spray. Don't strip the leaf. First, just read it, stalk, dome, crowd, or won't wipe powder, because the name tells you everything that comes next. Mark the spot. A loop of soft thread near the stem, or a dot of marker on the top side above the cluster, so you can find this exact leaf again. Then come back. Day 4, Day 7, Day 10, and let it show you which chapter it was. And if you read it and it turns out to be one of the troublemakers, a hornworm's dome, or that won't wipe whitefly powder in real numbers, you've lost nothing by looking first. A 2023 study by Kanakawa and colleagues lays out just how much can ride on that last kind. The whitefly is among the most far-reaching plant pests on the planet, tied to hundreds of plant viruses. which is exactly why you identify before you act. The 10 seconds you spend reading the leaf is what turns a blind swipe into a real decision. Name it first. Then choose. Here's the only homework I'll ever give you. Next time you're near a growing thing, your tomato, a weed in the crack of the sidewalk, a houseplant you kept forgetting to water, kneel down and turn over a single leaf. Just one. Look at the underside the way you now know how to look. For the curve, for the stalk, for the speck that won't wipe. Then tell me what you found. I genuinely want to know what's been hatching under the leaves you've walked past all this time.